Harper Hale's alarm clock exploded with its usual enthusiasm at 7 a.m., screeching a tinny rendition of Flight of the Bumblebee. Harper, better known on successful days as the superhero high five, slapped at the clock, missed entirely, and flung themselves out of bed in one sprawling tumble. The floor introduced itself to their forehead, just as the city's emergency sirens rose in the distance. Harper's eyes shot open. Big fire, escaped zoo animal, giant lizard, they mumbled. Normally they would have patted the nightstand for their scarlet cape, but the nightstand was bare, except for a bowl of jelly beans and a half-finished crossword. Somewhere in the back of Harper's head, a dim bell clanged. Cape. Dry cleaner. Again. 4 blocks away at Suds and Studs Eco Launderette, Harper's gleaming scarlet cape was doing slow, dignified laps in a vat of lavender detergent. The young attendant, Maria, was sketching lightning bolts in the margins of a biology textbook and wondering why the city's most colorful hero could remember atomic theory but never remember his own laundry. This must be the 4th time this month, she muttered to the spinning drum. The cape fluttered in indifference. Capes, like cats, accept the adoration of mortals as a right, not a gift. While Harper scrambled through the closet for anything remotely heroic, a tuxedo vest, a yard of caution tape, last New Year's glitter top hat, the villain of the week revved a jet-black forklift outside the Glisten Jewel exhibition downtown. The man, introduced via a villainous press release as Obsidian Steve, considered himself the embodiment of magmatic menace. He wore matte black armor, evening gloves, and a pair of ski goggles, tarted up with fake diamonds. He shouted at the crowd of early commuters, "Fear the geothermal wrath of Obsidian Steve, who shall boil your lattes and pilfer your gemstones!" The forklift's reverse beep served as his dramatic underscore. Harper skidded down the apartment stairwell half-dressed, yanking on a pair of mismatched boots they had grabbed mostly because they were boots. No cape. Okay. High five. You fought sea monsters in scuba gear. You can handle this. They burst onto the street, saw a city bus rumbling by, and flailed an arm. The bus driver braked, thinking Harper was tapping in for a ride. But Harper actually needed something else entirely. The gigantic advertisement banner stuck to the bus's side. It promoted Mr. Vinny's super soft paper towels, and it was 8 feet long, printed on polyester, and, crucially, red. Harper apologized to the bewildered driver, ripped the banner off the aluminum frame, and hollered, "Public transportation saves yet another day." The makeshift paper towel cape flapped behind Harper as they sprinted downtown. As they ran, the cape advertised, "Spill absorbency you can trust," which isn't the worst motto for a hero whose past record included soaking up a toxic sludge leak with 6,000 rolls of toilet paper. When Harper reached the museum's marble steps, Obsidian Steve had already forklifted the front doors off their hinges. The first security guard cowered behind a potted palm. The second fainted in sympathy. Steve pivoted toward Harper. "Ah, the city's most frequently capeless crusader." Harper shot back. "Good morning, Stevel Neville. Shouldn't you be magma surfing a volcano somewhere less insured?" They flicked the banner cape dramatically. Unfortunately, polyester breathes about as well as a shower curtain, and a rogue gust spun the phrase "super soft" around Harper's shoulders, straitjacket style. Steve roared with laughter and lowered his forklift fork. Thinking fast, Harper yanked an enormous velvet rope from the queue barrier and lassoed the forklift's steering column. 1 yank. 2. The forklift wheeled in a giddy circle, clobbering Steve's ankles and sending him hopping like a bird with flaming feet. While Steve cursed the ergonomics of industrial vehicles, Harper ghosted inside the exhibition hall, skidded across the shine to the main vault, and punched in the override code they'd memorized last time a villain tried the same stunt. The door slammed shut seconds before Steve limped up the hallway. He hammered on the stainless steel panels, but the gemstones were safe. Press camera drones buzzed in delight outside the windows. Harper struck a proud pose, albeit still tangled in advertisement. Half an hour later, back on the front steps, the police cuffed Steve and the museum director heaped compliments. But Harper's lungs wheezed inside the polyester wrap. "Gotta drop this off," they said, and tossed the crumpled sheet into the museum's recycling bin. This would have been a tidy ending if the day's crises ended there. But in Spindle City, menace blooms in clusters. The mayor's hotline buzzed in Harper's earbud. Multiple inflatable gorillas rampaging in the East Side Carnival. Harper groaned. Of course they are. They jogged north, chewing a protein bar that tasted like pencil erasers, when the bell in their brain clanged again. Cape. Dry cleaners. They detoured 6 blocks, burst into Suds and Studs, and nearly collided with Mariah lugging a laundry basket the size of a horse trough. The scarlet cape, cleaned, pressed, and still warm, glowed from the basket's summit. "Guess you want this," Maria laughed. Harper patted their pockets for money, found only lint and a coupon for 20% off lizard repellent, and promised to settle the bill by sunset. They threw the cape over their shoulders and sighed. Feels like, whoosh, coming home. At the carnival, 20-foot balloon gorillas stomped through popcorn stands, powered by remote control pumps, hidden by the trickster siblings, Jamie and Juliana Jett. The duo wore flight helmets, and had apparently decided King Kong cosplay was more interesting than homework. Harper swooped in, confident now, cape rippling majestically. They executed 3 flawless flips, flipped a power switch on one pump, and, whoop, landed in a vat of caramel. Juliana cackled from atop the Ferris wheel. "Sticky situation, hero!" Harper slowly rotated in caramel while the gorillas advanced, their vinyl fists batting funnel cake stands. Harper tried to flap their cape, but the sticky sugar welded it to their back, like taffy. The city's news chopper circled. "High five appears to be marinating," the anchor narrated. Harper exhaled. No time to soak the cape free. They wrenched off the confection-glued fabric and hurled it, a caramelized frisbee, at the chopper's landing skid. The cape wrapped around the metal strut, dangling below the whirring blades. Great! Cape gone again. A panicked vendor shrieked, "They're taking the teddy bear booth!" Harper squelched out of the vat. Nearest object resembling a cape. A row of extra-large Panda Bear plushies sewn together on a promo banner. 5 seconds later, Harper dashed across the midway, wearing an enormous quilt of panda torsos, like a cozy, goth picnic blanket. Each fluffy bear head bounced against Harper's knees, and every child within earshot screamed in pure delight. The jetpack siblings were distracted just long enough for Harper to vault onto the Ferris wheel cab, snip the RC antennas with a drop pocket knife, and power down the inflatables. The gorillas sagged like half-deflated dreams. Carnival saved. Harper left the panda cape with a sobbing toddler. "Best day ever!" And checked their smartwatch. Noon. Plenty of daylight to retrieve the actual cape, they thought. Unfortunately, the chopper carrying it had landed across the river for refueling, and Harper had 0 ferry fare. They borrowed a tricycle from an overly enthusiastic clown and pedaled toward the bridge, knees jammed under chin, grin grimly fixed. Halfway across, disaster flavored the winds again. A bank robbery on Periwinkle Avenue. Police sirens wailed, and smoke billowed from shattered windows. Harper turned the tricycle, rang the cartoonish bell twice, and zipped to the bank. Inside, 3 crooks wearing neon ski masks waved laser-tagged pistols real enough to terrify bystanders. The lead crook, Slappy Greg, sneered. "Who are you supposed to be? The world's tallest toddler." Harper realized they were still wearing streaks of drying caramel and smelled like kettle corn. No cape. No problem. They spotted the bank's grand opening decoration, a 60-foot ribbon still strung between 2 marble columns. Harper tugged, and the ribbon, lavender with silver glitter, puddled into their arms. With a flick, they twirled it around shoulders, gymnast style, and declared, "Behold, Big Bow Energy." The bewildered crooks blinked. In that blink, Harper somersaulted off the service counter, snatched the fake guns, and tied the 3 men together with the glittering ribbon. The knot was so pretty, the bank manager asked to keep it for future promotions. Harper obliged, curtsied, and pedaled out on the clown trike, but only after a young fan donated a juice box. Cran apple. Delicious. On the far side of the bridge, they reached the helipad just as the news crew was leaving again. A technician dangled Harper's cape on a clothesline beside a rotor blade. The caramel hardened into a sticky shellac. "Needs more solvent," he said. "Come back in 3 hours." Harper groaned. Hero work. May not allow that luxury. The technician shrugged and handed Harper a ticket stub for the city's soap museum, in case you want to see how suds changed history while you wait. Before Harper could decide whether that was sarcasm, a distant boom rattled every window. Black smoke twisted above the skyline. Over police radio. Explosive breach at Riverfront Dam. Structural compromise. Immediate risk of flooding. Harper's heart detonated with adrenaline. They scanned the helipad for anything cape-like. Nothing. Then they remembered the soap museum's gift shop bags. They sprinted across the plaza, found the museum, grabbed a dozen translucent garbage bags, imprinted with bubble patterns, and strung them together with duct tape borrowed from a tour guide. Soap bag cape rustling, Harper raced to the dam. Torrent-swelled water roared behind a cracked spillway. Engineers scrambled, powerless to patch the widening fissure. Harper scampered along a catwalk and spied the saboteur. Dr. Hydroponic, eco-terrorist turned water anarchist, brandishing an over-engineered spanner and screaming about cleansing the capitalist crust. Harper yelled, "Buddy! There are easier ways to wash society than drowning half of it!" Dr. Hydroponic swung the spanner, knocking loose another chunk of concrete. Water jetted through, hammering the valley below. Harper's soap bag cape fluttered like frightened butterflies. Brain racing. They recalled that soap film can withstand surprising shear stress if distributed evenly. They tore the cape into bubble-embellished sheets and, with the panicked engineer's help, plastered the hole in overlapping layers, each bag glued by quick-dry epoxy from a maintenance kit. Surface tension and desperate hope formed a miraculous patch. As Dr. Hydroponic confronted this indignity, Harper drop-kicked him into a rescue dinghy. The river remained safely behind the dam. People cheered. Waterbirds circled, and Harper discovered that shredded soap bags smelled divinely of lavender. Late afternoon sun gilded Spindle City, but Harper's mind tallied outstanding errands. Pay Maria, remove caramel from Scarlet Cape, maybe buy an organizer app. They decided to swing by Suds and Studs first to settle the bill. As they ducked along an alley shortcut, someone tugged their elbow. It was Ziggy, a tweaked-out courier, always in rollerblades. He gasped, "Fast break at Megaphone Stadium! Giant mascots got possessed! Crowd panicking!" Harper sighed. Ziggy pointed at Harper's shoulder. And you're wearing half a trashed biome. Harper glanced at the disintegrating soap bag tatters. No way would those hold in a stadium brawl. Across the alley, a bridal shop window mannequins flaunted yards of veil. Harper dashed inside, shouted, "City emergency!" And with the manager's wide-eyed blessing, liberated a 70-foot ivory veil trimmed in tiny plastic pearls. Outside, they whipped it into a regal train and rocketed toward the stadium on Ziggy's loaned rollerblades, veil streaming like ghostly exhaust. Inside the arena, mascots the size of parade floats showcased an unsettling talent for bench-pressing snack carts. A paranormal wave generator, the brainchild of half-baked influencer Paranormal Pete, blinked purple on the scoreboard catwalk. Harper bladed across slick polished concrete, veil trailing behind, and used the trailing fabric as both distraction and net. The possessed mascots charged. Harper wove between them, wrapping satin over snouts, feet, antlers, until each mascot resembled a burrito of shame. With the field cleared, Harper sprinted up the catwalk, yanked the battery from the generator, and lobbed it into a foam beer cup. Paranormal Pete got escorted out by security while live-streaming tears to his bewildered followers. The crowd went wild for Harper's curtain call twirl, pearls shimmering under the arena lights. Harper might have basked longer, but their smartwatch buzzed again. The helipad technician reporting the caramel had finally dissolved. "Your cape is ready, sugar-free." At last, Harper freed the mascots from the bridal veil. One guy in a dolphin suit kept a strip for sentimental reasons, then skated to the helipad. The sky was now coral and indigo, a painter's dream. The technician saluted, presenting the cape folded like origami. Harper donned it with ceremonial reverence. "Feels good to be home," they whispered. No sooner had the cape settled than an earthquake tremor rattled the rooftop. The city's alarm net shrieked again. "All units! Scourge of simultaneous chaos! Level Omega!" Harper blinked. That code referred only to one individual, the administrator, a cyber warlord who hacked the city's infrastructure 2 years prior and vowed an encore. Harper's display lens projected locations of cascading failures, traffic lights haywire, drawbridges opening randomly, and worst of all, power surges threatening the children's hospital. High five soared from the helipad, cape finally billowing in its proper crimson glory. But just 50 feet later, another tremor shook loose a billboard above them. A steel girder clipped their shoulder, and a sudden updraft whipped the cape forward. Snap! In the oldest frustration known to caped heroes, the fabric snagged on a lightning rod. Harper hung midair, harnessed to the skyline like laundry. They flailed, unclicked the cape's clasp, and plummeted onto a rooftop awning. The cape, meanwhile, flapped uselessly on its impaler. Harper rolled to their feet. "You've got to be kidding me." Below, streetlights blinked, Morse code mayhem, clock ticking. Harper spotted a neighborhood kindergarten's rooftop garden 2 buildings over, complete with a scarecrow wearing a rainbow-striped poncho and floppy straw hat. Moments later, Harper dashed off that roof, wearing the poncho as a diagonally striped wing. It wasn't aerodynamic, but kids on the street squealed with approval. Harper zipped to the children's hospital, identified the overloaded transformer, and smothered it with the straw hat, apparently woven with fire-retardant fibers for classroom safety. Sparks hissed, died, and the hospital's lights steadied back to life. Throughout the next hour, Harper sprinted and slalomed across the city in the poncho, shutting down the administrator's chaos nodes. They defused a rogue drawbridge by using the poncho as a semaphore flag. They reprogrammed traffic drones while the poncho doubled as a protective sunshade for disoriented motorists. and they covered a surveillance camera with it to blind the villain's remote eye. Eventually, they triangulated the administrator's signal to the central library's basement server farm. Harper crashed through the library skylight and tumbled onto a book cart. Rows of servers blinked in sinister green. The administrator, a gaunt person in a charcoal suit that looked borrowed from a funeral home, typed at a holographic keyboard. "High five," they said in a voice as smooth as elevator music. "Colorful choice of garment." Harper twirled the poncho. "My cape is on a rooftop sabbatical. You'll have to cope with stripes." The administrator's eyebrow twitched. "You are impossible to estimate." What followed resembled ballet at a hacker convention. Harper lunged. Administrator countered by unleashing autonomous micro-drones. Harper swatted two with the poncho, used the straw hat to scoop another, and flung it into an open server rack, where it shorted half the system. Sparks sizzled, sprinklers triggered, water pelted down. Administrator yelped as their holograms fizzled out. Harper seized a broken Ethernet cable, tied Administrator's wrists, and plopped them into a rolling librarian chair. In the watery hush, Harper exhaled. The city's grid stabilized. Exterior sirens faded to distant murmurs. From a skylight corner, they glimpsed their original cape, still waving from its lightning rod exile. A lonely crimson flag against the twilight. With the administrator in custody and peace, settling over Spindle City, there was only one task left. They hoofed it back to the skyscraper, scaled the service ladder, and liberated the cape from the rod. A small tear marred the hem. Nothing a patch of duct tape wouldn't hide. But Harper had never been happier to cradle a piece of fabric. They draped it over their shoulders and whispered, "Stay." By the time Harper reached Suds and Studs, miraculously still open, Maria was closing the register. Harper slapped down a wad of reward vouchers and crumpled villain bounty receipts. "This should cover the dry cleaning and the next 10 emergencies," they said. Maria laughed. "If you prepay, maybe you'll remember to pick it up next time." Harper saluted. "From now on, the cape stays on the shoulders. Rain, caramel, or catastrophic infrastructure failure." Maria handed over a neon pink laundry claim tag. "Just in case," she said. Harper pocketed the tag. Outside, streetlights flickered amber. The cape, finally home, maybe permanently, whispered across the pavement. Harper breathed in lavender detergent and the subtle perfume of a city briefly at peace. Then they noticed a poster on a lamppost for tomorrow's pet costume parade and smiled. Because no matter how secure one felt, Spindle City always found a way to require a hero with improvisational outerwear. Yet as Harper strolled toward the horizon, they silently promised, next time, if calamity called, the cape would be ready. Probably, maybe, unless left at the cleaners again. But that surely was never going to happen.